Hey, this is Ben Schiermeyer with Suzuki Yoshimura JGR, and I'm here to tell you about Chad Reed's factory RMZ 450. So Chad runs Pro Taper Carmichael bend handlebars. Bars are low, but they're raised up. Yeah, we got a 2mm spacer under the bar clamp with ARC clutch perch and factory Nissan front brake and factory Suzuki front brake lever with a factory Nissan caliper. He runs his brake lever pretty close. His clutch isn't too bad, but his brake's close. Brake lines are factory Suzuki. The front suspension's work Showa, so it's a spring hybrid fork which you can add air, and the air basically just helps bottoming resistance. With factory axle lugs and axles and Dunlop spec tires with factory hubs and Excel wheels. Standard steering stem with factory triple clamps. The radiators are just, braced for strength in a crash, and then they're welded at all the seams. The engine is all done in-house. We use JE pistons, webcams, and Exeldyne valve train components. Hinson ignition cover, and then Hinson full clutch setup with their cover. He's been on our base setting, and we haven't really varied from there. There hasn't been any issues that have come up where we've needed to maybe go to stiffer springs or anything. He's actually been pretty good on the clutch. The motor mounts are factory Suzuki, top and bottom. Some of the stuff they come up with an idea and we'll make it at JGR, or some of the stuff they bring over, but it's all worked directly with Suzuki Japan, and they've been out to test with us. They spent 2 weeks early in September, and we ran through all the chassis stuff. And so the clutch cable bracket, it's a work Suzuki clutch cable, and it threads in versus being pinched down there, and we make that bracket in-house. And then the case saver we make in-house, which that we do sell, but we do make a carbon skid plate also that we sell to the public. The shifter tip is a factory Suzuki piece, and then it's just a standard shifter riveted on there. And then the foot pegs are made in-house at JGR, and they're just standard stock mounts. Yeah, we have a couple different, we actually have a lot of different positions because we got some shorter guys on the team, taller guys, and Chad's are 10 back, 5 down. And then, you get a guy like Jimmy, he runs some that are plus 12, him and Alex, because they're just short guys. But the nice part about making it in-house is we can put it wherever we want it. The data acquisition stuff's all made by Get, and we run it all the time. With the bikes being fuel injected nowadays, there's a lot of stuff going on, and the computer side of it's a lot more involved, so it's a pretty important tuning tool, even on practice bikes now. Air, fuel, we got oil temp, air temp, pretty much everything that's going on with that side of it. Subframe is stock, it's just 10 millimeters lower. Pretty much all our guys are on a -10 subframe. It's just the feel. The seat is lightweight guts foam with their cover. He does prefer his seat broke in and not stiff. The fuel tank is just a standard plastic fuel tank. For outdoors we run the bigger carbon one, but for Supercross we don't need it, so we just go back to the standard one. And he's actually really light on the bike. I don't really ever have to Scotch Brite the frame because it doesn't barely get scratched. So the BFRC does come stock on it, and last year in Supercross we had run the works version of the BFRC. We ran it outdoors, and then we kind of went away from it, and then this year we didn't even really have time to get into it, so it might be something we explore in the future again. We just haven't had time to do it this year. Back end of the bike, he runs the wheelbase a little bit longer. Basically you could go one link out and have a shorter wheelbase, but he runs it in the longer position for just, it's more stable for him. Like a guy we tested with Hill, and he liked it shorter. So the chain we're running is a DID O-ring chain with Pro Taper sprockets front and rear, and then the chain guide is something that we make in-house. It's a little bit longer and keeps the chain more in line with the sprocket. The rear axle is a work Suzuki axle. Yosh Pipe, we've been with them for a couple of years, and they make a really good product, and they'll make us whatever we want if we have any special requests. The rear brake is pretty much stock. It just has a work Suzuki piston with holes drilled in it, so it's vented. Keeps some of the heat out of there. and it's a factory Suzuki clevis with a factory Suzuki pedal, and so the battery is actually in the air box. So that's where they plug in and download from. And then the battery's just in there because we run it off, not off bike power, off separate batteries. So if there ever was an issue, it wouldn't affect the bike running. So we have the get map switch on there with 2 different maps in it. It's good, you know, if something comes up and we want to try a different map, he can just switch it on track easy, and if it's better, he leaves it. If he doesn't like it better, he can go back to the other map. Then the other one's for launch control. Kind of wants to leave it, like we've done all the homework at the track, but you know, sometimes with the temperature changes and altitude, sometimes it needs a little more, a little less fuel if it's rich, lean, but he usually doesn't want to mess with it. He usually just leaves it. So we run a JGR pull rod that's adjustable. That's also available to the public. It's a work Suzuki knuckle. So his setup right now, he's 1/2 mil shorter on his length than what stock is. But when you change the knuckle, that changes the whole ratio. It wouldn't be fair to compare that versus a stock knuckle. When we had the stock knuckle, we were same as stock length. There's plenty of adjustability in there for either way to go. The rear master cylinder is stock, just tie banjo bolts and tie hardware. Factory Suzuki clevis. Factory Suzuki brake pedal with brake pedal tip, that's tie, and then the brake snake. Tip will fit a stock pedal, but you have to drill the rivets out and then bolt it in. Yosh puts the O2 bung in pretty much all the headers they send us because we run it all the time. Data acquisition for get the air fuel ratio and see if we're running, you know, rich, lean, and try to keep it running the best we can. A lot of our hardware is either aluminum or titanium, and it all comes from Suzuki in Japan. And a lot of the plastic stuff is aluminum, and then obviously the engine stuff and the linkage bolts and all that kind of stuff is all tie in the engine everywhere too. Axles and pivots, there's definitely a different feel between tie, steel, stock versus the works ones. There's a lot of different options to play with in there. All the graphics are done by Armored Graphics, which they're a local company in North Carolina, and they've been doing our graphics for a couple years now, and they do a killer job. Bikes are always looking good. The rear tire is a spec tire from Dunlop. He's been running the 110 for a little while now. He said he started running it last year and he was happy with it, so he had always in the past run a 120. So we tried it a couple weeks ago and he was happy with it. For sure, I think it's been helping the other guys at the track a little bit, and he has been, you know, really good for us with testing. He's got a really good feel for the bike. Tell you if you change something small or big, he'll give you an honest opinion. Even if he thinks something's going to go one way, if it goes the other way, he'll give you an honest opinion. He won't just pick it because he had in his head that, oh, that's what I wanted. I think it's been good, like with the other guys too. He's seen some stuff on track where he's pointed something out and they tried it and it was better for the guys. So we've run through a lot of stuff in the last 4.5, 5 weeks leading up to the Monster Cup. The first couple weeks there was a lot of long days at the track. It was good. It was just, you know, long days, but now it's slowed down a little bit, but we're still tinkering, tweaking on suspension, trying little stuff here and there. It's kind of never ending. It just slows down a little bit from time to time, but